What is going on, ballers? It's your boy MJ coming at you with another episode of the Fantasy Fumble with my co-host here, Joe the Birdman. Joe, how the hell you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty well, Manny. It's been up and down this football season. Injury apocalypse is here, and my teams are all over the place, man. Some,
Oh,
I got a couple that are 0-3, but I also got a couple that are 3-0, and there's still a lot of time left.
and that's the thing I do miss is right, like having multiple teams to manage. But one thing I learned about fantasy: always go with your gut, and most of the time, your teams that 90% of the time end up doing good are the ones that you picked, as your primaries, and the guys that you alternated are just end up being lesser or not as good. I don't know. That seems to be the case for me. Not sure it's the case for everybody, but regardless, let's go ahead and get down to the news and notes. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey there, my name is Manny James Gonzalez with PRB, and I'm a real estate agent here in Central Florida. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, military relocation pro, and big supporter of 2A and veterans' rights. My specialty is VA transactions. I'm also experienced in all parts of real estate.
I've been living in Florida for over 20 years, and I can tell you we still believe in freedom down here. One of the greatest job markets, excellent economy, and no state income tax. When it comes to an agent, you want one that's going to be honest, not afraid of a fight, and most importantly, willing to do the things that some agents aren't willing to do.
And what's that, Manny?
Shoot straight, Dan. If you're ever considering buying in Central Florida, you need somebody you can trust, and I got your six. I'm Manny James Gonzalez, finding land for the free and home for the brave.
Welcome back, ballers. Now let's get into some news and notes. Now, as we've discussed in many past seasons, James Conner is injured. Hopefully prepared with Trey Benson because he's out for the season. And running back Tyrone Tracy is expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a dislocated shoulder. Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans is also expected to miss at least 2 weeks, could be 3 or 4 with a hamstring injury. And CeeDee Lamb is unlikely to play in week 4 against the Packers due to an ankle injury. And there have been some reports about him possibly going on IR, but we got to wait and see. And after that Giants game last week, they announced that Jackson Dart is going to be the starter in week 4. So
Good move by the Giants, man. It's clear that this is not going to be Russell Wilson's last hoorah, and Russell's going to keep trying to chuck it up. I'd rather have Jameis Winston out there, to be honest, So I think they're going to trade him, or if they can't find a trade partner, just release him outright. Because obviously, Russell Wilson's still looking to start, and I think obviously Cincinnati could be a place like all, but it could even be another team. Like, let's say the Raiders take a crack at him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
doubt it, strongly doubt it, but there's always a wild card in there.
Yeah, Jameis, I agree with that. He's always more fun for fantasy purposes. And Cincy, that would be interesting. I mean, Jake Browning did pretty well last season, but, you always need depth. So that's an interesting thought.
Well, he got his ass kicked this game. And the last game, he threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions. So that's where, so his results haven't been that great, to be honest.
And their schedule is difficult all season. So
yeah. They play in the AFC North, right?
Yeah, that's all you really got to say.
Bro.
Given all the circumstances that we just discussed, we're going to get into some trade targets that you should look for going into week 4.
Welcome back, ballers. All right, now for our trade targets we're going to talk about today. Me and Joe have this new segment. We thought it'd be a great idea to kind of talk about some players that you could possibly buy low on now or pay asking price for, right? Because these are guys that I think are going to be great in the long run, or they have, they're going to have a really solid season. You can kind of see it early in bits and flurries. So one of the guys I really like that I wasn't that big on coming into to the season is Devontae Adams. So I didn't realize that the Rams are going to be throwing the ball to them that much, right? Because when they had Cooper Kupp or Puka, they were only throwing it to one guy, right? It was either Cooper Kupp, which he was a guy, or it was Puka when Puka came in. So I never thought Matt Stafford can sustain that level of success. But honestly, I think that although Puka is the more productive receiver right now, Devontae Adams has more targets than Puka. So I could see him, being somebody that you could pay right now. Like, obviously, it's not going to be cheap. You're going to pay wide receiver 2 numbers, maybe 3, right, depending on the situation for the guy. But he's definitely somebody I would go after with, like, 2 flex type players, right? Like, depending on what the person needs, whether that's a quarterback, running back, or a wide receiver, tight end. You come in with a strong offer, you should be able to come in and kind of upgrade at that position.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying about asking price. Like right now, you can pay asking price for these players and then really have a lot of upside for the rest of the season. And I think I was not high on Devontae either. I knew he'd be a red zone target, but I didn't think he'd be getting the targets that he's getting. And that's a pleasant surprise. And Puka, he still hasn't scored a touchdown, but he's the number 1 wide receiver in the league. More than enough to go around on the Rams offense.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the first guy I'm going to talk about, it's probably too late to get the value that you would have gotten in week 3. But if there's someone in your league with 3 to 4 solid running backs, I would try to get Trey Benson. I just have a feeling he could finish inside the top 10 for the rest of the season because people have been talking about him for years. We've seen what he can do, and now it's his time to shine for the rest of the season, not just a few games. You're going to get him the rest of the season. He's going to be the workhorse running back over there. And the Cardinals and Seahawks game should be very high scoring this week. So the price could go way up in week 5.
That is a good pick, Joe. I definitely like him a lot too. I don't know about top 10, right? Like I haven't looked at it that deep, but Trey Benson does have the skills. I think he's a great player. So
I'm just saying it's possible. It's possible.
Oh yeah, I could see him. He's the workload. It was him obviously taking some of James Conner's snaps, but now what? DeMarcado is going to take his snaps. I doubt it. I think they're going to run him out there all 3 downs, like you were saying, right?
That's what I think. Yeah,
his role was the pass catching back, and now that the pass catching back is promoted, who's going to do his job but him? So
that's right.
That makes sense. That's a good call. All right, Joe. Now, for my next trade target that I want to talk about, it's a guy by the name of Ted McMillan, wide receiver, Carolina Panthers. He has been looked great in preseason. He looked great in practice. He looks good in the game. He's just not getting schemed open that much. You're not giving him as many opportunities. I think with the offense, though, it's eventually going to settle down because they do have a decent O-line. It's eventually going to settle down. Bryce Young is going to start making those throws. And Ted McMillan is a freak of nature. I think he's going to definitely be scoring in, wide receiver 10 range, right, overall. I think he can end up over there, 10 to 15 range. So that's actually pretty good because he's getting you, 15 to 20 points a game at that point. And from what I've been seeing, the reason why I picked 2 wide receivers is because this is one of the first years in a long time that I can say it's a lot less wide receiver talent out there than there typically was. Right, there's a big drop off between talent with the top guys and the next tier guys, and then the middle of the pack guys. So it's slim pickings for sure. So if you get these guys, they're target hogs. They're going to absolutely elevate your team, and you're not going to pay too much for them.
Yeah, you've been high on Ted McMillan all season. I wasn't nearly as high on him, but he is a big, strong player. We were waiting for him to get comfortable in the offense, and he did. I did not expect that game to go that direction. They
didn't have to throw it last game. They just stomped a mud hole in their ass.
Yeah, but they look good. And the second guy I'm going to talk about, he's not a trade target, but a waiver ad that I think I kind of like it for the next few weeks, and that's Cade Otton. I think we all remember the dominance he had last October and November when Godwin and Evans were out, and it's possible Godwin plays this week, but he could be limited. And we know Evans is out for a few weeks. So if Godwin misses this week, I mean, I would grab Kate Otten, just put him on your bench. And if Godwin misses this week, I'd be pretty comfortable starting him. And I could see him finishing as the second best pass catcher behind Igbuka. So, if you're struggling at tight end, which everybody is, unless you've got, one of the top 3 or 4 guys, I would pick him up and just, see what your options are going into the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Now let's get into our hot matchups.
Oh, child, it's so high in here.
Oh, child.
Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, boy.
All right. Let's get to the hot matchups today. All right, I'll lead us up, Joe. Hot matchup. Of course, you guys are getting tired of me talking about these fucking team, and you probably will, and I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I said, I told you last week it was going to be a barn burner, and this week it's going to be another one, Philly versus Tampa Bay. It's in Tampa. Tampa has an explosive offense, actually a really good defense too. And Philly, same thing, explosive offense, good defense. But Tampa always seems to have Philly's number. Now, I looked at I actually had an argument with the Bucs fan the other day because I'm in Florida as well, and I'm surrounded by Bucs fans.
There's a few in the league.
Yeah. And they always talk trash. I looked up the all-time record, and Philly played Philly lost to the Buccaneers, I think, 2 more times, and they lost to us. So the record is like 15-13, like all time. And then the Buccaneers have a 2-game lead on us. So I'm hoping that if Philly's kind of take another one on there, because we'll be one away from breaking that tie and proving to the Bucs that we're the better franchise. I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah, and I think that will be a shootout. But there is a chance it goes the other way because they do have good defenses, like you said. That's always the gamble. Like, I was thinking about over the weekend when I was watching Cleveland and Green Bay. I was thinking, man, that would have been a good cold call because those defenses are so rock solid. But at the same time, you see what they can do on offense in Green Bay, so you don't really want to bet against them. But I have a feeling with the Bucs and Philly that could go either way. But if I had to put my money on something, it would be a shootout. For my first hot matchup, or my only hot matchup, we each do one. I have the Colts and the Rams. Both teams, it's similar to the situation you just described with Philly and Tampa. Both teams have top 10 defenses, but I have a feeling this game will stay competitive the entire time, creating a lot of points. The Colts have been a very pleasant surprise this year. Jonathan Taylor is back to being the best running back in the NFL, which has been awesome to watch. You called that. I mean, you didn't say he was going to be the best, but you said he'd be getting back to form. And I certainly didn't expect that level of dominance, and I was not nearly as high on him. And the Rams are really good against the run, but good luck stopping JT. And I think we've seen enough of Michael Pittman to say he's a lineup lock, which is very surprising to me because I didn't even think about drafting him. But he's averaging 16 points a game, and he's looked great in 2 out of 3 games. And the one that he looked just okay, I think he had 8 or 10 points. And although Tyler Warren and Daniel Jones struggled a little bit last week, it was mostly due to being up 2 scores against the Titans for like the duration of the game. So Jones is a top 5 quarterback and Warren is a top 10 tight end, and I'd start both of them too. And then on the other side of the field, you got the Rams. They've been great. The Colts have the best running back in the league, but the Rams had the best wide receiver in the league. Puka's averaging over 100 yards and like 25 fantasy points a game. And as we discussed earlier, Devontae has been rock solid too. And I believe the strong Colts secondary will have their hands full and they won't be able to stop him. And Kyron may have some difficulty against the run, but he's still a solid flex play every week. And again, this game should be close from start to finish. So I think the entire offense will be involved for both teams. Now let's get into our cold calls. I'm going to lead things off with the Titans and the Texans. I feel for Tony Pollard. He's a good player, but the Titans are just so bad. And I actually thought Ridley could be like a flex play all year long, but he should be dropped. And there's a guy I've heard being discussed as a waiver ad, Ayamaner. He's a hot waiver ad, but without those 2 touchdowns, he wouldn't even be on the radar. So, yeah, if you're looking for like a dart throw, or if you're in a double flex league, I guess you could pick him up. I picked him up in a couple leagues in week 3, but I really didn't expect him to score another touchdown and put up 15. I just don't think that's going to be something that's consistent. There's just nobody I'm starting on that offense, including Ayamaner, however you say his name. The only person I would start at flex would possibly be Pollard if I didn't have a better option. Just the Titans offense is really bad. And the Texans have a top 5 defense. They're good against the pass and the run. So I don't want anything to do with the Titans. And the Titans defense is almost as bad as their offense. So it's possible we see another big game from Nico Collins, who looked great last week and finished with over 100 yards. But sadly, that's where it ends with the Texans. The rest of the team has been terrible. I thought we could see something from Jaden Higgins, but he's done nothing. I picked him up in like every league at like later rounds of the draft, and he's done nothing.
I like them too as a sleeper pick, though. So
he's a big guy. He's a big, strong guy. He's built like Ted McMillan. I thought maybe he's another rookie that you could keep your eye on, but Stroud has been terrible, and I guess you could play. Yeah, we've been discussing that since day one. That was their problem last year too. That's why we're always nervous about what can the run game do. And Mixon, although he had his hands full, he looked good last year. We thought he could maybe do it again, but he's not around. So that run game is non-existent. You could play Dalton Schultz or Christian Kirk and just hope for 8 to 10 points if you're desperate, but I would stay away from this whole game, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not a fan. Now, for my cold call of the week, or cold matchup. Sorry, cold matchup. So it's the Monday night game. I can't believe they flexed this shit to prime time. Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets, right? The NFL has the ability to flex games outside of prime time and put the good ones there. But for some reason, they left this turd of a matchup that I'm going to absolutely miss because I have no shares of those 2 terrible offenses. And I'm damn sure not going to pay the subscription fee required to possibly watch this on a whole different platform. So NFL, get your shit together because that is so bad. And if you have Breece Hall, sell now.
Yes.
If you have Quinshon Judkins for the Browns, sell now because it's not going to get any better than this, guys. This is the peak, and now the valley is coming.
I think Quinshon could do something. I'm actually confident that he could at least be like a solid flex play, like an RB3, and possibly even work his way up to an RB2, just because there's not a lot else going on in the offense, you know?
I just think he's going to have a lot of inconsistent games because the Browns are that terrible, right? Like their quarterback, situation, they have a bunch of options that they can't figure it out. Joe Flacco is definitely not it, right? But at the end of the day, unless they make that change at that quarterback, I would sell Quinshon anyways because at the end of the day, like people can value him and what he's supposed to be, but there's no way you're going to get that consistent production when you need him all season long. So right now, if you could get a decent value as a wide receiver 3, trade or upgrade at quarterback, obviously take it because that's as good as it's going to get, honestly, with him.
But I agree about Breece. I think that's someone that, and you know what? Maybe I'm a hater because I avoid him every year. He's had some monster games. He's had some good seasons, but at the same time, it's peaks and valleys. And when you start to see a couple valleys or that slope just getting less and less, I don't know, man. I wouldn't start him with confidence. That's for sure.
And I've been the biggest Brees supporter, man, the last few years.
You have. I'm a hater,
But
you're a
unfortunately,
supporter, and we both agree on this, which means it's probably time to trade him.
if he's on another team with a good offensive line, absolutely. With a good offense, I mean, Brees Hall is going to be a good back, but not here.
And the thing is, like, I still like Justin Fields for a season-long quarterback, like as your backup, or, you know, someone that you could start from at certain times. But, you know, he's got to be a little more consistent for you to start him. You know, when you see him come out and he does great and puts up a lot of yards, you get excited. I always get excited. I do think he's a good player. He's just got a solid floor because of the running. And once he's healthy, I would say you should pick him up, start him at certain weeks, and keep him on your bench for others. But that's a suspect offense. The Dolphins are a suspect offense. I mean, that's another thing with the Dolphins wide receivers. You never know what you're going to get. It just depends on the game script. And, you know, last week with my hot matchup, I know it's your cold call this week, but my hot matchup last week was the Bills and the Dolphins because I just had a feeling there would be garbage time. It turned out to be a competitive game the whole way through. We did say that's always a possibility. But that those wide receivers are also someone where you start them and you hold your breath because you have no idea what you're going to get. Achane all day. Tyreek and Waddle, it's a week-to-week basis, and you're never comfortable. Now let's get into our shit calls of the week. My shit call is regarding Wan'Dale Robinson. I was really high on Wan'Dale, and I told our viewers to add him from waivers or make a lowball trade for him, and that I would start him against the Chiefs. That game turned out to be a disaster, and I'm sorry if anyone started him over a better player, but it was just a bad game all around. I'm still confident in him for the rest of the season, and keep in mind that Jackson Dart is now the starting quarterback, so hopefully that works out better for him. I mean, his connection with Russell Wilson looked awesome, but we know what Russell Wilson's another one of those guys that's peaks and valleys, unreliable. So hopefully Jackson Dart is a more reliable guy that makes you start Wan'Dale with confidence. But I apologize for last week. That was a bad call to start him against the Chiefs.
Hear that? Now, for my shit call, you know, it's not so much about what I said, but more about what I did not do. What I did not do this year is talk about David Montgomery. I've been a big David Montgomery supporter. I was telling people about Montgomery as soon as he went from Chicago to Detroit, and people were like, hey, he's not going to be that great. I was like, no, sit back and watch. And you know what? I thought it would be I actually thought like those people this year. I said, David Montgomery is not going to get that many touches. Gibbs is going to coast and take everything over this year. And sure enough, I was wrong. You know, David Montgomery is the guy as advertised right before he got injured last year. He's the guy that almost hit 1,000, you know, like all-purpose yard season, right? Like he's a reliable back. He can eventually break away like every once in a while. Not common, but you know, I think that
he did last week.
Yeah, he 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? Like that's fucking amazing. And so my shit call was I wasn't on a David Montgomery hype train this year. So David Montgomery, my sincerest apologies, sir, for underestimating you. But I've always been a fan.
You have been a huge fan, and I have too. And I feel the same way, man. The reason I picked Gibbs as the number 1 overall running back, that's what I said. Our rankings, I said it's because they're going to phase out of the usage with Montgomery. Boy, he looked awesome. He's been good. It's not just last week. He's been good. And, yeah, he's that guy. So not sure why we doubted Sonic and Knuckles because they are a duo, and they kick ass together.
Yeah, in one of my leagues I do have Sonic, so that is a good one.
I mean, I have Sonic in like 4 leagues, and I still think we have yet to see the best from him. But
he had a great game.
Yeah.
Well,
they both did. Hell yeah.
Oh, I didn't hit record.
Yes, you did. I just looked at the
All right. Here we go. All right, ballers. It's that time we all hate. It's the end of the show here. We appreciate all the support, all you guys have shown us. Keep downloading, keep sharing. Tell your grandma about us while she's knitting during football season. Tell her I would love an Eagles crocheted blanket.
Yeah,
I don't know.
send
Let me
that.
get some of that. Joe's a Steelers fan.
Yeah,
Let him
send
know.
it.
If you need information, reach out to us, guys. But we really appreciate the love and support. Joe, you got anything for them here?
Like, comment, subscribe. That's all. And again, with the player profiles, anyone you want to see, let us know. Any questions you have, let us know. We'll do our best to steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, right. And guys, we'll see you same time, same place next week here. And you guys keep them sites open. Make sure you unlock some of them trade targets. All right.
That's right.
All
That's
right.
right. Good luck in week 4.